All right, let me check in now that I have read the full the incarnation of Krishna Mulvany, the incarnation of Krishna Mulvany by Rudyard Kipling, which is very much a story of one of the red-coated colonial soldiers that Britain used to hold control over India, where we have kind of on a very low level this guy and this story sort of very kind of cheerfully celebrating the exploitation of India by said soldiers, and the said soldier being embodied in a Irish Mulvaney, this very much kind of a probably it's a stereotypical Irishman kind of idea of a heavy drinker, a brawler, a thief, a liar. Yeah, it's it's racist. He uses the N word a lot. Thankfully, I think there's only one non. He uses it in a vernacular. He uses a vernacular kind of way. So I did use those. There's one case in the actual text. It does use the N word that way as well. Very much it is something I'm going to have to deal with in this story of, like, obviously in India at this time, the N word was bandied about and used applying to the native peoples. So it's got a history. It's got a history here, and it's got a history in America. It's not a good one. Kipling is quite copious in using it, probably because it was quite copiously used at this time. So that is something to educate myself about the time and about how that direct interaction with people who aren't white ends up with the N word a lot of the time. Um, Mulvaney, I've already said about how they come upon a Dursley, this guy who has been exploiting natives, making them basically taking 9/10 of their money for a raffle for a palanquin, but then whenever someone wins, he won't give them the palanquin. And then Mulvaney determines he's going to take the palanquin because this is a terrible exploitation. But of course, he takes the palanquin. He takes all the money that the guy scammed out of the native peoples. It's not anything to do with the native people, or other than there's just like it's an opportunity to snatch up their own money. Um, he goes off. He gets drunk. He goes off. He disappears. It's like, is he dead? Then he comes back with a story. Very much, this is a thing where there's kind of a Kipling narrator stand-in, and then the characters sort of tell the story in their voice to the narrator, to the Kipling narrator. I'll say the Kipling narrator. And Mulvaney comes back with a story of, he had gone to taunt the guy that they actually took the palanquin off of. That guy said, fine, here, have some drink. And then he loaded him on a train that took him way, way, way a ways, so he would get in trouble for being absent without leave, for possibly deserting. Except no one wants to believe that he's deserting, so that didn't work. He ends up in a city where there's a whole ton of palanquins, and it turns out there's a great meeting of all the kind of the great queens of India, and his palanquin just gets picked up and taken into this temple where there's all these gorgeous, beautiful women. Mulvaney goes on about how gorgeous and beautiful these women are, way more beautiful than any white women. It's sort of that kind of like aren't foreign women exotic and hot. I mean, not that Indian women aren't totally fucking hot, but women all over the world are hot. But yes. So there is my own horn doggedness in there somewhere. So he gets taken in. He's like, shit, how am I going to get out of this? Then he happens to fall upon one of the pictures of the embroidered Hindu gods and stuff like that that's in the inside of this thing. And he goes, oh, I look like Krishna. Surprise, surprise. I look like Krishna. So he tears off the lining, wraps it around himself, and presents himself as Krishna, which, of course, the gullible wailing women who are in the midst of this ceremony, of course, immediately believe that he is like the appearance of Krishna. He kind of dances through them, brushes the silk lining over one of them as he goes, then gets out, grabs a priest and says, "You're going to help me get out of here. I've just made your temple's reputation because Krishna has appeared to these women." and he basically robs the guy. He basically says, yeah, I roughed him up and I robbed him. So he's like really a fuckhead. He's really an awful, awful person. They, just really this is what Kipling is putting forward as this rapscallion hero, but he's like really fucking awful. So he robs him and he gets back, and he's told by he's told by the narrator, look, all you have to do is come up with an excuse, and the colonel will let you off. And indeed, he comes up with an excuse. He jokes about his church matters, but he says, I came down with a fever and I lay insensible in a villager's hut for a couple of weeks. And the colonel, of course, forgives him. And between the laughter and goodwill, the affair was smoothed over, so that he could, next day, teach the new recruits how to fear God, honor the Queen, shoot straight, and keep clean. So it's like, yes, we're gonna indulge this complete fuckhead, this really awful guy, because he's useful to our powers, to the power structure, to the wider exploitation of India. We're going to keep this guy. Kipling is really good at rendering a kind of an energetic voice, and telling an entertaining shaggy dog tale, even though he's like a real asshole. He is a real asshole, but it's like, and it's like, yeah. So that's the kind of story that I'm starting off with Kipling at this point. I mean, I can see why it's popular, but it's also kind of gross, All right. So that is the incarnation of Krishna Mlvny. More videos later.